Welcome everyone to another episode of LPF Debrief, where Chris and I talk about comic books, movies, and TV shows. And on today's episode, we will be discussing episode 7 of The Last of Us, exclusively on HBO Max. You can't get it anywhere else. The only place you can watch it. So get it, watch it, like it, love it, do all that good stuff. This episode was titled Left Behind, and it is directed by Eliza Johnson. This one was actually written by Neil himself. This episode, not
DeGrasse
that he
Tyson?
hasn't. No,
Oh,
you knew exactly what I was talking about. Okay, so he wrote this episode, and it makes a lot of sense because this episode had a major theme of people, and maybe a lot of people didn't play this because we know a lot of people don't play DLCs. I was addicted to Last of Us, so I 100% played this, and I thought the way they did this was really cool. But before we get into any of that, there will be spoilers ahead, guys. So if you guys don't want to hear any other spoilers, please go ahead, and there's probably going to be game spoilers and the um the TV show spoilers. So pause it if you don't want to hear any of those. Then go ahead and do your thing, and then come on back and let us know what you guys thought of the
get
episode.
on in
So
here.
yeah, then get on in here so we could tell you what we thought about the episode. So episode 7, we start off with Joel. He's been cut deep, okay, and
He
we
ain't
see
doing
the
so
blood.
hot.
Yeah, we see the blood getting trailed over, and we're trying to obviously figure out what's happening. Where is he at? Is he dead? They gave us a lot of suspense, except the people who had already played the game and clearly knew Joel wasn't dead. So, not saying he won't. In this episode, you never know. I'm just saying, at that point, you never know. So we see him and he's really trying to shrug off Ellie, saying, Ellie, like, get away from me. Like, you know what I mean? Leave. But you can see what we talked about in the last episode, how strong that bond is now, right? Because Joel is not saying this in a sense of like he really wants her to go. He's just in pain and he feels like that's the safest way. But he also has that inside of him where it's like, I knew like this is what I was trying to avoid. Like, you know what I mean? Because he wanted the younger person to go with her, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the person he felt was going to be better to protect her. And of course, now he's in the situation that he was trying to
Could
avoid
you
from the
imagine?
beginning.
Could you imagine him? He's like, Ellie, lean
Yeah.
in. And he grabs her. He's like, didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? And then you picked me, huh?
I,
This is what happens.
yeah, I
This
told
is
you
what we
so.
get. I told you. But
Yeah,
also,
I told you
is
this
it
was gonna
bad for
happen.
me that when I see him, right? Whenever I saw him and he has like the murmurs and everything, he's like, can't really get the words out or anything like that. I was like, man, she's been bit twice. Get up.
Yeah. Well, I think the bites are way different than a
Than a
stabbing.
stabbing in the hit. I know,
Yeah.
but it's just one of like the wound itself. Whenever you look at it, like whenever they
Mhm.
zoom in on it, it doesn't look as bad.
Yeah, it
So
doesn't look
he
as bad.
definitely played it pretty well for that
Yeah,
to
but
happen.
we also don't
Um,
know what if anything got punctured or anything like that. So that's usually what.
that's all right.
Uh,
But I mean, whenever you said, not many people probably played the DLC. I am one of them, so I will have
mhm.
questions. Or
Yes.
if you want to compare anything, because I don't even know if everything was canon, if the whole crush sequence, like her first
Yes.
crush, all that stuff, like I didn't know
Yeah.
if it was like
So
shot for shot. So
yeah, we'll get into that, but for sure, we see that he does that, and then I thought the way that they brought us to said episode of basically giving us Ellie before any of this, right? Like her being raised in an AZ. Basically, I thought it was really cool, and it makes even more sense when you get to the end of the episode because this episode was shot really well, and like the whole idea behind the episode is so awesome because as Ellie's going upstairs after Joel tells her to leave, um, we need you. Like he's like, go. I don't want you here. Basically, so and then we see the tear in his eye. Like he actually doesn't want this to be what's happening, right? But it's the situation he's in. He wants to protect her more than ever now, and he feels like it's better if she just goes back up north to Tommy. Either Tommy can come back for him, or maybe that's not what he's thinking, but he just wants her to be safe, and he just cares about her safety, and he's willing to just stay and die in a basement for her safety, right? So as Ellie is going, um upstairs to try to find some help or whatever the thing she's looking for, uh we go into a flashback. And I thought this was a perfect way of doing it, opposed to like making it actually the episode where obviously it's already happened. So it's really cool that she kind of has this flashback in a moment of where she's like in the easy, basically seeing, we see her life before she met Joel, before she was, everything was broken out. So I thought they did that really, really well. And yeah, getting into that episode was tough because that was a hard episode to get into. As far as like, not that it was a bad way, I'm just saying like, because I knew what was going to happen and I knew what how the ending outcome of this episode was going to be, and I was like, damn it, why am I putting myself through this again? Because I don't understand why I keep doing this every week. Every week I turn it on in excitement, expecting, oh yeah, this is going to be great, and it's not. It's just
I've been doing
heartbreaking.
palate cleansers after the
Yeah.
episodes, like so I don't get like too depressed. I'm like I gotta watch something happy. Like I
You
can't. Like
got to,
I'm
man.
like as we get older, it's so much easier for me to get into those slumps where I'm like, man, I don't feel like doing nothing anymore.
Yeah.
Like you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I don't even wanna. Well, yeah.
So
So it's one of those episodes where it's definitely a lot to take in, but the way, like I said, with the way that it was shot, everything was everything was great. We see Ellie being bullied. We get signs of who Riley is from Bethany, who's basically like bothering Ellie for no reason, of course. And it's just, teenagers being teenagers raised in this area. She's trying to pick on them, trying to assert their dominance and all that good stuff. And shout out to them showing a Walkman, which I had one of those back in the day, dating myself. Little tapes is what we used to listen to things on.
never had one.
So yeah, yeah.
I had a we had a
You weren't
cassette
there yet.
player in the house, but we didn't have. I don't think my
A
parents wanted to
Walkman.
get me a. No, yeah, nobody.
Yeah. No, no.
It was
I think you
like
would I think it was back past that time by the time you like it would have been past the the phase
yeah, but my
of
parents also
Walkmans.
didn't have. Like I'm saying, my dad and my mom didn't have one either. It was
Hmm.
like the entertainment system was in the house, and the only time they
Yeah.
listened to music was for like parties and stuff like that. But also the product placement. They made
Hmm.
sure that's the
Hey,
Sony name.
and I can guarantee you, if those Walkmans were a certain price beforehand, they are at least a double the price right now because there's going to be people looking for
You
Walkmans.
think they're gonna come back? Because I feel like I
No.
feel like we've seen Walkmans more. I can't remember where else I saw one, but I feel
Well,
like we
Star Lord has
recently.
one
Oh, okay,
in
Star Lord.
Guardians.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Well, the thing is, you're not bringing tape back. It's inefficient. If people want to use it, then go be my guest.
all my
But
old
the fact
teachers
that you
would
got to,
riot.
yeah,
They'd be like, "Absolutely not! I'm not recording
yeah,
any music in
yeah.
this."
Like flipping a seat, flipping tapes and all that. No, it's inefficient, and you don't want to go back to that. It's a nice collector's item though, and I think that's what their value would be in. But besides that, you're not listening. We're listening to music the most efficient way we possibly can. Like, it doesn't take up storage on your phone. It's literally being streamed.
Especially now that it's like, I mean, side note, sorry, we're going off a tangent, but especially now with the whole lossless and like the
Yeah.
uncompressed and all that stuff, it's
Hmm.
pretty cool. But anyway,
Yeah. But yeah, but basically we see what Ellie's going through. We basically gets into a fight. We see she's being told, "Hey, there's only two people who live in this world. Like, you know what I mean? You could be the person who's in the sewer rats and all this stuff, or you can be an officer and telling people how to live." And we know that that's going to be kind of a foreshadow for the episode, right? And a lot of the stuff that they did prior to them getting to where they get to was a lot of precursors, because if you remember, in when Ellie does get back to her room, you see a bunch of posters, you see a bunch of things that she's into, and it starts to make sense. We see a big Mortal Kombat 2 poster. Um, Very good product replacement. And honestly, I was thinking how smart HBO and WB are, because HBO and WB are basically like, the same network, right? So
mhm.
their Discovery is the same network. So actually putting Combat, like the poster in there, cost them nothing because it's part of their product. So I thought that was really cool that they were just like, oh yeah, like what else games were popular back then? Like, you know what I mean? And putting that in there. So I thought that was really cool. that they did it, I was like, yeah, that's dope. Like let us see what's going on here. And then yeah, so we see that basically then Riley comes in, who is played by the amazing Storm Reed. She is fantastic in pretty much everything that she's in. And she was again fantastic in this. But you could instantly see the relation, the friendship, the relationship that they've already had when she comes in, especially just like how she basically Riley was like knowing exactly what Ellie was going to say. She was like, "I need you to come with me. I know you're going to say no, but then you're going to say yes."
But also that
And then she
beginning
was,
part where she like, why the hell would you sneak up on me? She's like, I thought it'd be funny. I was
yeah,
like, I was like, it's on I
it.
wish a friend would try to prank me like that,
But
man.
my thing is though, not even okay, not even in a non-apocalyptic world would that be a funny.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm
Like,
saying. It's just like the first thing you do is cover my mouth. No,
yeah,
I'm gonna
no,
think I'm getting kidnapped.
yeah,
I'm
and
start
you're
swinging.
probably gonna get sliced. She's
Yeah.
lucky she didn't get sliced because Ellie was ready. You know what I mean? But I thought that was really cool. Just how she was like, you're gonna say no, and then you're gonna say yes. But basically, Riley gives out that information saying that she's part of the Fireflies, or has become part of the Fireflies. That part was not in the game. At least I don't remember it like being said like that. But and the part where basically they were like together beforehand wasn't the thing either. That was kind of something that they um that was something that they kind of met up. I want to say that, but I could be wrong. I just know like the meat of potatoes is when we get inside of the mall is when I know like the exact story of how everything transpired. But basically, she says, "Hey, I need to take you to a place." You know what I mean? Because she has some information that she wants to tell her.
Mm.
She doesn't know that yet, but it's about to happen. And then we see them all. And for everyone who has played the DLC, you know that that's where the main point of the story. This story is going to take place for everything that was pre when Ellie meets Joe.
So whenever
And
you do the DLC, you start in the mall. You're already
you
in the mall.
start you're starting like to get to the mall, and you start playing in the mall. And so we see this mall. I love how um they made it, how they turned it into this for the show, though, how it became this spectacular thing, this thing that we don't even care for malls anymore, right? Like, and it's a very like ordinary mundane kind of thing, but to see how Ellie's reaction towards a mall being like all lit up and all that stuff was like, dang, like
I'm a sucker for that, man.
it's
Because even in
yeah,
Stranger Things, that retro mall look, like the season where
yeah,
it all took place in the mall, I was like,
yeah.
man, this is
I
so
don't like that
cool.
season, but it was
Well, I
cool.
mean, like the look of the
Yeah.
mall, yeah. But
Hmm.
anyway, but yeah, that first shot when they light up everything, I was like, this is
Yeah.
I like the post apocalyptic, like I'm a sucker for that. Whenever there's
Mm.
electricity, like anytime they go into a building or any like streetwise, and they go find the generator, always in the back of my head I was like, please work, because it looks so cool
Yeah.
with like the overgrown buildings and everything with the lights coming on. That's
Yeah.
it's a beautiful look to me. So but
Yeah.
yeah,
And then the sound and everything like
yeah.
just coming on and everything finally like working and stuff like that. And just and then of course Ellie being able to be a kid again, right? Like we get to see her be a child and be someone like, what I mean, for like be like, dang, like being wowed away. And to even to the point to where she's excited about an escalator because she has never seen an escalator before, which is like, what I mean, really cool because she's like going down and she's like, what is this amazing contraption? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, what is this thing that is allowing me to do all this, right? So I thought her doing that and just showing that off was really cool. Like just her being able to again be a kid again. And then just now the whole goal is to there she's gonna take her around the mall, which is what you do in the DLC also. The DLC, you actually go to all of the like different parts of the mall, and then the story just kind of unfolds, kind of like what it did in this in this episode right here. So the next place that they go to, they see the they go to the next place. Which one was it
The carousel.
again? Yeah, no, I think there was something before the carousel. They
Uh,
had that really funny moment with with the Victoria's
Oh
Secret.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then but basically you can see also while that's happening, both of them kind of testing the waters, right? Like
yes. Of them
she's
like,
like kind of seeing like,
yeah,
does she like, because you know, you and especially I, you know, in their sense where it's like they've been friends for, you know, they're considering themselves best friends. It's like if she's not feeling me this way, like this could potentially ruin it. So you can see how cautious both of them are being, but also the fact that their age, right? Like at that age, we're very like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of scared, like, you know
yeah.
what I mean? And you could see the nervous vibes kind of thing going with them. They do the photo shoot, the photo booth pictures,
That I
which
remember
was
from like I
yeah,
remember seeing when the game was advertised.
yeah.
You saw
Hmm.
the photo strip and everything like that,
Yeah.
which I thought was
And
cool.
then yeah, just doing cool things in the photos. And I mean, like I said, overall the like just taking this journey with these kids being kids, right? And then but the carousel thing where they're having a good time on the carousel, just you know, um doing all those kind of things. And then we get to the arcade where they're playing. She's like, is this the most beautiful thing I've ever seen? Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I get it. Like, even seeing arcades now, I'm like, damn, I could just have a room like this. It would be amazing. So, like, I get that feeling. Like, I know the feeling she's getting where she's, but also, you know, Ellie's, I'm at like one of the things that they said at the end of the episode where, you know, when they do like the things, is like just imagine, you know, Ellie seeing all these things in like magazines and posters on her wall and stuff like that, and then finally being able to play the things that she's been seeing this whole time. I thought that was just like really well said, just to direct that, and then Bella Ramsey just showing off that emotion of being like, "Yo, like this is insane! Like I've never seen anything like this. Like I just saw an escalator for the first time, and now I'm seeing a whole place with just a bunch of arcades and like games I can play." So
You see that too
overall,
whenever she's playing the game too. Like
yeah,
whenever she doesn't know how to move, she's just
no
doing the punching. And when she
button
does,
mashing,
whenever she's like, "Oh yeah, use the joystick," like
yeah,
you see her like just kind of pat it once, like okay.
yeah,
She's not sitting there
hmm
like we would normally do it. So it was pretty cool. She did a great job of like I've never seen this thing before, even though she probably it's I feel like it's hard to play the innocent type. Like I feel like it's a hard role to play. Of like you know what a mall looks like. You've been on an
hmm
escalator. You know you've seen a plane. You've done this. You've done that. I feel like it's hard to really show that you don't know. Like it's believable. It's really believable. Like she has no idea what
yeah,
this is or what any of it is, and it's. I think she did a great job portraying that, especially during that scene. That was one of my favorite scenes to watch her. Like I don't understand what's going on. I know what this game is because I've read about
yeah,
it, but
yeah. I'm
it's.
playing
I
it for
never
the
thought
first
I'd be
time.
in front of it. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm. And just the whole thing with Riley putting in the inputs for fatalities and stuff like that. Like I love that they took their time with that kind of stuff. But also, let's be honest, most people's first time playing a fighting game, that's exactly what they do. They start button mashing, they start moving everything around, and you know, there's plenty of memes where people make a bunch of fun of that. But
I'm sure if
it's
Black
true.
Magic was here, he'd say that's what you do.
No, he can't
I
beat
got
me
you.
in anything.
I got you, Black Magic.
So if he's listening, he already knows he can't beat me in no fighting game. So, Street Fighter in June, just saying. But anyway, yeah. So it was awesome to see that. But of course, just like every good thing in The Last of Us, it means something bad's gonna happen, and we see what they were feared to be. Not a full bunch of affected, just one. Usually, that's all it takes is just a one.
And
So
it was in the freaking doll store, man. I
yeah,
hate those dolls. I hate
yeah,
them. I hate them, hate them, hate them. My mom had a whole bunch of them. They freaked me
yeah,
out. So whenever they started panning in,
hmm
and yeah, I saw the first doll, I was like, of course it's in there.
yeah. Why wouldn't it be in there?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It would be like so. It it was, you know, a cool moment just to, and that's the thing that they do so well in the show, is that they get you lost in the good moments, right?
Hmm.
You're like, we're having a good time with them, right? We're like, oh, this is awesome. Like they're having a good time. Everything's gonna end the way it's supposed to be. Like, you know what I mean? And you kind of you forget, right? Because you're so like oh, look at them having a good time in this world. Like you're happy for like Ellie just being able to like doing her thing, being a kid again, and then you're like, oh yeah, there's nothing like can happen here. Like they said, there's no infected in here, so like what I mean, nothing can go wrong. And then of course you see the gas it takes, and then you're like, damn it. See, now I thought though that it was going to be one of those where how they foreshadowed at the beginning that like um when something happen when you get in when an infected shows up, or like if they it's like a hive.
Like a horde. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought that
so
too.
and the reason why I thought that also was because in the game you fight a whole horde of what you call it, of them coming into the mall. So I was prepared for that scene, and I was like, I don't know how they're going to do it, because that shit was hard in the game. Like what I mean, because you had to like literally just a whole horde
Yeah.
of them, like what I mean, and it was just like, what am I going to do here? So
It makes sense that
and
it's
then
one though in this one
yeah,
because she's
yeah.
been. I mean, she wasn't staying in the mall in the game,
She
was
was
she? Was
no,
she
no, no.
living in the mall? No.
So she no, I think she was like always around the mall. Riley was. I need to replay that or at least rewatch it, because I don't like I said, I just remember the main parts of it,
Yeah.
and not like I mean, obviously like the puns part was all true, like her giving her the puns book, that's where she gets it from. Actually, because they were all into puns, and I thought it was hilarious when they did the screenshot one, and she was like, "What is
What's the
that?"
screenshot?
It's
She's
like,
like,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Yeah, like just them having no idea what some of the future stuff is, was really funny. But yeah, it was just one of those things where it's just like, you know, it was a whole horde. So that's what I thought was gonna happen. I thought a whole horde was gonna show up. But like you said, I thought it was perfect to just do one anyway, because like it's unreal. Like in a game, it's fine, right? Like fighting a bunch of enemies. Because
Yeah.
I even think the Fedra comes into the mall too at some point, and then like because you're also fighting humans at one point in that DLC too. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because like only one infected is going to be a lot hard, like a
Yeah.
lot harder in a real world than it is in a game
For two
where we
kids. Yeah.
have like
I mean, I still
whatever.
have an issue that she was stationed by herself. That was a little bit
Ye-
in the back of my head of like, okay, but
well,
whatever.
yeah, but I think again a lot of them are getting pulled at that age,
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
who what I mean. And remember, if you remember, they were trained, like they were getting military trained, like Ellie was getting military trained, like what I mean,
Hmm.
because they're in a military base. So it makes sense why they would have like start pulling them younger, especially because they're probably more agile, a lot of thing. But yeah, it is difficult because the mindset, right? Because what she did was completely irresponsible to go get Ellie, right? Like that, all of it was like not what you're supposed to do. So yeah, so to your point, the age thing, yeah, in some points it benefits, but in some like decision making in this situation, you're like, I don't think that was a smart idea.
Hmm.
But she genuinely thought it was clear, right? So yeah, so that happens. Basically, they go to the before they go to, is it the music store? No, no, no. They
The
go
Halloween
to,
Halloween store.
is it the Halloween one before when they have the argument?
Oh no, they had the argument in the it's like a restaurant, like a food court,
Yeah.
because she's like, oh, is it
Oh, the
tacos?
nachos.
Yeah, the
Yes, yeah,
nachos.
yeah,
Okay,
tacos. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
taco.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay,
And she's like, "Oh, is it tacos?" Well, and she was like, before she gives her the book.
yeah.
Yeah, she's like, "Is it tacos?" She's like, "No, there's no food here." Like, of course it's not tacos. Even though I don't blame her. Like, come on, you see a nacho stand, you're hoping there's some tacos there. That'd be a good a good gift. So yeah, we she goes in there, and then Ellie sees the bombs and all that stuff. And one of their major talking points before any of that happened was like, you're going around bombing, like, you know, the Fireflies are going around bombing places where, civilians and innocent people are, trying to tackle down Fedra and stuff like that. And Riley was trying to convince Ellie like it would never happen to them, like I would never allow that, etc. But like the point that Ellie brings up that's really smart is like, well, you can't stop them. Like, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you think
clearly
they're
you're
gonna
not gonna
listen to
be able
you?
to.
Like, no,
Yeah,
that's my friend.
like
Well,
yeah. Well, this is the place that needs to get popped off, and I'm sure the Fireflies try to, but that there's going to be casualties,
hmm
right? So it's something that you kind of have to accept with that comes with the territory, and it's a brutal thing because both of them feel like they're right, right? Like Ellie's like, look, like I get what you want to like why you're doing this, and this, but at the end of the day, like it's still hurting people, right? And then Riley is like, well, like I'd rather be doing that than just be stuck in this base, like not doing anything, like not trying to progress anywhere. So it's it was a smart way to kind of have them drive a wedge in between their friendship because you really weren't gonna find a way, right? Like there's no they're gonna be kids and then be like, oh, that's my best friend. Like I'm gonna follow her to the end, right? So them having this kind of different path and Riley having parents and knowing exactly what loss is and stuff like that, right? Is what the determining factor is because she's never like she knows what having a family's like. She didn't grow up in the LZ, right? So she had her family, even though it was for a little while. She knows what's happening, right? Like she knows having that sense of feeling like she belongs, and she craves that again, right? And they have that whole argument where she's just like, you know, Ellie's like, nah, fuck this, like this is not what I want, blah blah blah, like I'm
yeah,
gonna leave, and then she storms out, and then of course she takes a sit back, she takes a couple steps back and it's like, oh, I got to go back.
real quick. This is the moment for the people that are scaredy cats like me,
Yeah,
where my heart starts beating because I'm like,
yeah,
this is the tricky part of something's going wrong here. She's either
hmm
gonna go away and she gets attacked, or she's gonna go through the door. She's gonna get attacked.
hmm
And then whenever I heard the screaming, I was like, if they're really
right,
about to turn the corner and I
yeah,
see the clicker just like eating her alive
yeah,
and Ellie has to run away, I'm like, that's
yeah,
some rough stuff right there. So
yeah,
so that's what I thought was gonna happen. But
hmm
yeah.
yeah. So and it plays that nice trick, right? Because now it's like, oh well, because at this point, and this is why I said this episode was directed so well because at this point, that we know there's a sense of danger, right? Like we've already seen it at this point, right? Like they haven't seen it. So anything you do, even in a joking manner, we're going to believe, like it's still going to be believed in our head because, like, duh, like we just saw that there's an infected in there. Like it's obviously could have just showed up, right? So, and then like you said, many things could go into your brain at this point. Like, are they gonna is Ellie gonna go and save them? Et cetera, et cetera. And like you said, you hadn't played the DLC, so like
I mean, I thought it was
you
gonna
just
happen in the arcade. They're screaming and everything like that.
yeah,
Like every loud moment, you're like, oh, they're gonna get
they're
found.
too
Here it
loud.
is.
You're too loud.
Yeah.
Like you're too loud. So yeah, so like it was nice to play with that tension, right? But before any of that happens, they go into the Halloween store, um, and Riley's there saying like, she's sorry, basically. Ellie asked for the book, and then she really, like Ellie really understands where Riley's coming from at that point, right? Like she's like, I get it, like what I mean, I get where you're coming from. And then they do the plays the music from the Walkman, and then they're jamming, and then that the mask thing is directly pulled from the game. They take the whole mask thing where both of them are wearing masks, all that stuff happens.
When she's
Um,
staring at her, Riley with the wolf mask, though,
uh,
it felt a bit creepy.
Well,
Like
yeah,
she's
well,
just
they were
standing there, just like
dancing
staring. I was
like
like,
that whole dance thing is they were doing.
yeah,
Like, what I mean? Like, cause Ellie's like wearing her like wearing the mask and she
yeah,
was
yeah.
like going around the store and stuff like that. But the scene that happens in, again, I could be wrong. I remember it being in a music store, not in a Halloween store, but the Halloween store thing does happen.
Gotcha.
Like it does, like they do put on masks, and I think it's a more of a pass through part. But again, um, that this is how I'm remembering it. I played it in 2013, so like I haven't played that since then. So you know what I mean. But I don't, and I didn't really check the back to back things, but I'm pretty sure I've got it where she like that happened in a music store because it makes sense and then they kind of just combined all of that.
Yeah.
And then we see the scene where basically like Ellie's like, you know what, like you're leaving, and you could see it in her face too, which is what Bella did like a fantastic job at, right? Like you could see it in like the desperation kind of thing where she's just like, well, like you're leaving, like what do I have to lose? Like at this point, like it's either you're going to be down or you're not, right? And she goes in for it. And yes, which is why this part, when Ellie when remember when she was walking in the beginning
Yeah.
and they were asking her about like, do you have a boyfriend or this and that, and she was kind of like, questioning. She was like, you know what I mean? And yeah, so this is back in 2013, people, so please don't even get me like don't get me started like because I already know some people are gonna already start, and I don't want to hear it. Like don't do it, okay? Don't don't start crying. Look, we don't want to hear it here. You already know. So this this story was been written, so don't give us any of that. And even if it wasn't, that doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? So um they happen, they share a kiss, and they both get rewarded by knowing that the other one felt the same way that they felt about each other, right? So and then she says, don't leave. Like uh and then Riley's like, yeah, you know what I mean, because they're in love, right? Like they found each other. Now they're going to try to figure out what's next. And of course, again, once we get our sweet, beautiful moment, what happens?
Gets
The
ripped
damn
away.
infected.
Mm-hmm.
Damn infected. She shoots. She misses too many times. Okay, too many times. Now, now I know she can't get an immediate headshot because you know what I mean. That would just deprive from the story. But come on, man, we gotta hit these headshots, people. We got to. This is what happens when you don't hit the headshots. This is what happens. You gotta hit the headshot. She missed. She hit the gut. That's not enough.
I can't
These
wait for a
guys don't
Dead
care about
Space.
any of
I
that.
can't wait for a Dead Space show to happen because I know that's gonna be the joke.
Oh yeah, because it's gonna be so dramatic. Like because well,
It's-
with a Dead Space show, just real quick, like they're instantly gonna go for the head. Like they got to
that's what
do a
I'm saying.
scene
There's
where
gonna
like
be a
yeah,
scene. There's
everyone
gonna be
just
the head, and it's gonna
yeah,
stop, and then
yeah,
the music's gonna build. It's like
yeah,
it just keeps
yeah.
going.
That
I see it now
scared.
perfectly.
Yeah, and you can see it. You can see it happening. So yeah, they do that fight with that infected, which I thought they did really well. Right, like it was kind of like back and forth. And they're fighting, and then you're basically looking for when either of them are going to get bit, right? And they do a good job at not actually showing when any of it's going to happen. So you're kind of like, oh, did it happen? Like, you know what I mean? When Ellie, and I love that they did the Ellie stab, which is
Yeah,
legit from the game. Like the way she stabs the clicker is like that's how she does it in the game, especially part one, because the younger Ellie was more of a leaner than she was in part two. So it was really cool to see that, but you could see the excitement, like she's like, oh snap, like I did it. Like, you know what I mean? And which is how we felt. Anytime you kill someone, you're just like, oh snap, I did it. Like and then of course she realized that she got bit, and that
that
was
emotion. Yeah, like of her,
that
of like
emotion.
it's the end and everything like that. I mean, I gotta say, props to freaking what's his name, Sam. All
Mm-hmm,
right, kudos to Sam because Sam deep inside knew that
mm-hmm,
it like it wasn't he wanted any kind of hope he could,
yeah.
but he went out like a champ, man. That's great. And then I mean, we see Ellie. I get it though. She found a state of happiness. She's been bullied and everything like that, and like we said, some good things happen to her, and it gets ripped away,
Mm-hmm,
and she throws a fit, and that's it. And Riley, you see where she's just like, I totally thought Riley was gonna blame herself, be like, I shouldn't even
mm-hmm.
brought you here. Like it's my fault. Now we're both dead, and yeah.
Well,
So
the thing is with that is, and it is another real good point brought by in the after show, was that Ellie reacted as a person who was dealing with loss for the first time. Right? She was angry. She didn't know how to express her emotions. It hadn't happened to her. This is her first genuine loss, right? This is the first person that she's been in love with. That you know what I mean. This is her first kiss. This is all of her first, right? And like all of that has now been taken away from her. At least that's what she thinks, right? In this moment, she's like, dang, like I finally got like, and it goes so much deeper, right? Because it's like I finally confirmed basically my sexuality, right? I've confirmed that Riley also likes me, right? Like I've this is my first kiss. This is the first person I'm like, in love with. All of that reassurance has happened for her, right? And then for now, it to literally be taken away, like even getting her first kill, like her first infected kill, because that's her first infected kill, right?
Yeah.
So like she's has all of these first. She's played video games for the first time. All of these things has happened. She's never had loss before. This is her first loss, right? And she gets bit, and she's like, it's all genuine anger because she's like, I finally got everything I wanted. Like in this terrible apocalyptic world,
Yeah.
I finally have everything. And now, in a matter of seconds, like in a 3-minute fight, it has been all taken away. And Riley, on the other hand, has experienced loss before because she lost her parents. She's lost, what I mean? She's even the 3 weeks when she was gone, she was, without Ellie. So, like, what I mean? All of that plays into a factor. And that's why her emotion is more of a like, well, like I've experienced this before. Like I'm not angry about it, but like, it's sad, it sucks, but like I know how this feels. Like you may not know how it feels, but like they're like it's done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I thought them having such a different contrast on how they dealt with it was great. But also just even the conversation at the end where Riley is just basically like, we have three choices, right? Like, we could do all these things. We can either like, take the easy way out, we could, let it ride, or we could just, take our future, which is again pulled from the game too, where they just have that moment. And I thought it was awesome for them to like, be holding hands, pretty much accepting, hey, we're just gonna stick this out. Like if we're dying, we're gonna like it's gonna be poet like, Romeo
Yeah.
and Juliet kind of thing, you know what I mean? But then where I thought we were gonna see the end of that.
I was about to ask you if that happens in the
Yeah.
game because I was like,
No.
at the time, I was like, I don't, I don't want to see her like them wake up and then she's turned and Ellie has to kill her or something like that. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I kind of do. So
Yes, you want to know what happened. So my
yeah.
thing is I'm not gonna say what happened, right? Because they might still show it.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? So like they might still show it. But I was taken aback just like everyone else. And I think, but honestly, when you watch it, the episode in totality, after it's done, it makes perfect sense why they did it that way, right?
Hmm.
Because when they snap back to Ellie, it's her realizing, saying, oh, like Riley was like, you know what, we're not leaving each other behind. And she was like, nah, like, she was like, I'm gonna fight for you, Ellie. Like, to try to be with you. And even though this is not a, obviously like a romantic thing, but she obviously loves Joel, right? And she's like, no, I'm not going to let Joel die. Like we all go to the same place. Like I'm going to hold on to this person that I have for as long as I possibly can, right? Like so I'm not going to just stop fighting for Joel. Like, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
need to fight for Joel. So it was really cool for her to have the flashback, for them to then throw it into her making her next decision, which was, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to try to find whatever I need to find to help Joel. And I thought when you watch the episode in total like that, it's really cool that they did that moment where, because obviously we watched an hour, but in her mind, it was probably like a quick flash of like, oh, snap. Like, no, 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 I can't leave Joel by himself. Like, I have to do this. Like this is kind of the same situation. Like Riley and myself, we didn't leave each other behind. I'm not leaving Joel behind. She goes, she searches everything, she finds a needle and thread, and for the first time, she's gonna do some stitches. And Joel, you can see even in his state where he's just like, oh, like she came back for me, like
Yeah.
kind of thing, like, you know what I mean? And it was really heartwarming. Like it was a really tough episode, but then we end with such a heartwarming moment where it's just like, dang, like she did help him, like, you know what I mean? Like it's really cool to just that chemistry build up. And even Pedro Pascal didn't even have that many lines in this episode, and he's just still fantastic. Like it just, I don't get it. The guy is just, he's just great. He's just great. So
Yeah,
yeah.
man. Yeah, I got nothing else for it. So you kind of
It's
set it off.
yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much what it was, and it was just a fantastic episode to show off the DLC stuff. I definitely want to play it again, kind of just so I can give myself a refresher on it. But yeah, I mean the episode again was is just fantastic. They know what they're doing. They're able to hit all the feels, even the changes that they make. They they're good changes, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not changes that are like drastic from the story. And like I said, my main thing is just don't change the premise of the story, which they're not. Like even with their changes, they're not changing what the premise of Last of Us is. And it's this story about two strangers who, have who are basically looking for each other, right? Like that's what they're looking for. And that's what they're like doing, and every episode comes a moment where they're building that relationship even more. And don't worry, episode 9 will rip your heart right out your chest. So prepare. But episode 8, we're going to have it's going to be interesting
Troy
because
Baker,
yes.
because he's been
So
advertising
uh,
it. Like
yeah.
as soon
Yeah.
as that trailer posted, his picture has been everywhere.
Yeah.
I love him to death,
They're
but
ready
I
to
can tell
show.
he's
Yeah, he was excited. He is excited. He was excited. I mean, and again, you weren't able to. So I'm glad that they put him in there. So I didn't watch that pre thing, but I'm pretty sure like I do follow Troy Baker, so I knew. I was like, oh, it's like, well, I guess I know what episode you're in now. So I'm hoping he comes to me. But we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, he's episode 8. I'm episode 8's gonna be an interesting one because I'm interested to see how long we go into that, because if episode 9's the last one, then that means like the story that like we're ending part 1 in episode 9. So we're gonna see episode 8 might be a long one for sure, an hour and 30 maybe. I wouldn't put it past it because the rumors is episode 9 is like only 45 minutes.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
mean, it's understandable.
no, I
But
mean it's
but I'll
fine.
take an hour and a half of Troy Baker. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
want to see
fine.
those
I
chops. Let's see the acting chops
Yeah.
in real life because that's what
He
he wants
he
to do. So yeah.
he's got it. He's got it.
Oh,
He's gonna be
100%.
fine. I think he's gonna be fine. But yeah. Last thing before we head out, I did a lot of talking in this one. Chris, what did you think? What was your favorite part of the episode?
The walk up to the mall, the turning on the lights.
Yeah.
I just like that look and the camera settling down and you seeing everything.
And her eyes like being lit up
Lit
like a
up,
kid,
yeah.
like Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was
Yeah.
my favorite part, man. These episodes are great. This one is on the same story beat of episode 3. Episode 3 was a full love story. This one was like adventure love story, and I like this one a lot more because I probably smiled a lot more in this one, even though the ending was sad, but I wasn't as sad as the rest of the show so far. So it was a rough episode, but it was definitely a little bit more of a higher note.
This one's easier to consume because it's a prequel.
Yeah.
Like you knew
True.
what was going to happen. Like, you know what I mean? Especially because you knew it was predated. So you already knew Ellie got bit somewhere, right? Like, you know what I mean? So you know that she's already survived that scenario. Whereas in a lot of the other episodes, even though we knew that whatever the ending was going to be bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like for Sam and Henry, like, yeah, that episode was great, but we also knew what was gonna happen. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we knew how sad that was going to be. And we didn't know like Bill episode, it ended on a beautiful note. Like, you know what I mean? Like it did end where, they got to die together happily, like, not by the infected
On their
or
own
anything
means.
like
Yeah,
that.
they went out their
By
own
their
means.
own
Yeah,
terms.
yeah.
So that like that's a beautiful story, but like we didn't know that's how that was gonna end because it veered from the game. So, but this one, it was just like, well, we know Ellie survives, like, you know what I mean, because she's here,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean. But yeah. So yeah, my favorite part, I mean, I did the whole conversation, like, but the friendship, which becomes a relationship uh for Riley and Ellie was my favorite part, and just seeing those two young women just act their asses off, like you know what I mean, to hold such a like impactful scene, like episode, just the two of them, like you know what I mean, and like with no real like support. It's just like I mean, Storm Reed is 19 and Bella's 19 also, like for them to just be holding down an episode like that, like and show off all of this emotions of happiness and sad, and it's just it's a great thing to see when people like when you can see the younger our younger generation just have the acting chops at such a young age. Like imagine, like I couldn't do that at 19
No.
as well. Like you know what I mean? So just seeing them being able to like flourish and just be awesome in these episodes. That was my favorite part by far. And yeah, and also check out their other works because it's all great. Really, they don't really do bad things. So, but yeah, that would be my favorite part. So that will wrap it up for us today, guys. It was a little bit longer of an episode. We will have some more content for you guys this week because Mandalorian starts on March 1st. So, so yep. So that's on Wednesday. It's going to be a lot of. We're going to hit a lot of TV coming up here
I
soon
gotta get a
because
Pedro
that
Pascal shirt. I'm sure there's one out
yeah.
there. That's why I
Yeah,
ordered
there's
that
gotta
one.
be. You gotta it's the month of Pedro Pascal. I mean, and if you're like again, Jonathan Major is gonna be it's both of their years. Like it's 100% because Creed comes out on Friday. So like it's just like we just saw Ant-Man and then it's a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, so we'll definitely have that for you guys. So be on the lookout for it. And of course, if you guys can like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff, it really helps us. Put a comment down. Let us know what you guys thought of the episode because that really helps us also. So until we see you guys next time, I'm not sure when we're going to drop that episode of Mando, but I'm sure we're going to have it for you sometime this week. But just be on our lookout on our social medias for any updates. So until then, Fire Team out.